Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it. I hope everyone can see the screen, see my PowerPoint as I go along. So I called the presentation today, Self-Advocacy is no game, or is it? I am Demetria Nickens, as she said. I am the now new named Accessibility Counseling and Health Coordinator here at Davis and Davie Community College. A lot of my self-advocacy work, honestly, started when I was a VR counselor. Some of you already know a lot of VR work is doing that piece for transition students. So self-advocacy is one of those 5 pre-employment transition services for students. Self-advocacy kind of came into my wheelhouse during that time when I was a VR counselor, and I've just kind of continued that work here. So while I am with you today, these are just the quick objectives. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Like I don't claim to be an expert in any of this. It's just I hope that I can give you some deeper understanding. And so what I want to do today is I want you to be able to gain an increased understanding of how you like to educate others, learn about different ways to teach self-advocacy strategies to students. And I also want to enjoy our time we have here together while we're learning. I think too often we're in presentations and they're just talking to us. And I want you guys to talk to me. I want us to interact in the chat. I want us to provide reactions if you know how to do that in Teams. So I hope that this can be an interactive process where we're all learning together from each other in this field. So I want to start with a game. How many people have ever played Would You Rather? Any raise of hands or put in the chat or say how many of you have ever played the game Would You Rather? Everybody gonna be quiet today, or I know I can't see the chat, so it's kind of hard to know if people are responding.
We have 4 raised hands so far.
Great. Great. Well, at least I'm not alone. Good to know. Mm-hmm. All right. So basically, Would You Rather, it takes 2 things and says whether or not you would rather do one or the other. So I'm going to do a quick, fun icebreaker one real quick, and we'll get into the ones for the real presentation. So would you rather have chocolate cake or salad? Right? So then you just put in the chat for me, chocolate cake or a salad. You get to choose just one and one only. Would you rather have chocolate cake or a salad?
I'm seeing chocolate cake, salad. Lots of salads. A little bit of chocolate cake. All right. Okay. Here's another chocolate cake, another salad. So about 10 salads and 4 chocolate cake. For Mary, it depends on the day. That's fair. That's fair. Is it actually a choice or are there consequences? So
no. No consequences. This is just a fun icebreaker for the beginning, right? No consequences here, right? This is totally just for fun. The idea, I want to get to know a little bit of you guys as well as we present today. Like I said, I want this to be interactive. So know that this is not about right or wrong. When we get into the actual information I've got going on, this isn't about right or wrong, right? It's really about giving some insight into what we're talking about today. So I'm with you guys on the chocolate cake side, just letting you know. I'm on the chocolate cake side, FYI. All right, let's get to it. So would you rather teach self-advocacy to a group of students all day, or would you rather teach self-advocacy one student at a time? You can just put A or B so that you don't have to type that whole sentence out. Just put A or B. Teach self-advocacy to a group of students all day for A, and B, teach self-advocacy one student at a time.
5 B's, 2 A's, 6 B's, 2 A's.
Okay.
There's a 7th B, 3rd A, 8 and 9 B, depends on the student. Okay. So I'm seeing a great deal of B's with maybe a quarter as many A's or half as many A's, and then some depends on the student.
Okay, I like it. So why does this question even matter when we're talking about teaching students with self-advocacy? if we don't know how we like to provide information to others, how can we make sure we're providing that information to students, right? So we have to know what we like. How do we prefer to tell students? Do we like to be in a group setting and talk to students in a group in a workshop, right? Or maybe it really is just those one-on-one pieces that matter to us when we're teaching self-advocacy to students. So for me in this one, I'm B as well, right? I like to teach self-advocacy one student at a time when I'm managing students, because I like to want to build relationship with students. And so part of that is important, because when you're teaching self-advocacy to students, because what is self-advocacy, right? We are teaching them what they need and want. We're trying to gather from them, hey, what is it that you feel like you need and want? And this is how you say what you need and want to someone else. So we don't know what we need in terms of who we are. How can we do that for others, right? All right, let's go to our next one. So would you rather help a group of faculty members understand accommodations during a professional development workshop, or help one faculty member understand accommodations during a one-on-one meeting? And it sounds like from this group, we're going to get a bunch of B's again, but I don't know. We'll see. Because we're talking about faculty instead of students this time. I don't know. We'll see.
Holly made a comment about making sure students feel safe. I'm seeing about half and half, A, B.
Okay.
Let's see. Yep, about half and half, A's and B's.
Interesting enough for me, right? Even though I'm doing this presentation today, I'm pushing the envelope for myself, right? I actually would prefer the B side as well, right? I want to build a relationship, but I think it's also important that we push the envelope with students too, right? Sometimes we have to push them out of their comfort zone when we're teaching them self-advocacy. Being able to, if they're not ones that are willing to speak up for themselves, then how do we get them to do that? Sometimes we have to push that envelope with them. And so just keeping that in mind, when we're talking about one way or the other, when dealing with students, is that they have a preference as well. And so what is that preference, and how does that preference matter when they need to speak up for themselves? Last one for would you rather. Would you rather ask your supervisor for an extra 15-minute break, or would you rather submit leave for 30 minutes when you only really need 15? Now this one is just, it doesn't matter who your supervisor is specifically, right? I'm not trying to get into anybody's specific supervisory duties, right? That's not what I'm trying to do here. But just think about it, just A and B, no matter who your supervisor is. What do you think, which one you would rather do?
I'm seeing all A's so far.
Good news.
Yeah.
Awesome. A's. Awesome, right? Who wants to take extra minutes when they don't have to, right? Nobody wants to take extra minutes when they don't have to, right? I haven't always had great supervisors, right? And some supervisors, depending on who I dealt with, right? Depend on whether or not I would want to just take the leave and not even ask them because I knew it was going to be drama, or whether or not I wanted to go up to them and talk to them and ask them those questions, right? Everybody's had different supervisors throughout their life, right? You've probably had that one where you're like, nope, I don't want to talk to you, right? I'm thankful right now that I have a supervisor I feel like I could go to and ask them for that 15-minute break currently, right? But that wasn't always the case. And the same goes for students and their faculty members that they deal with, right? Their instructors that they deal with. It is hard to go to a faculty member that you don't really care for and ask them for something that they want or something that they need when it comes to accommodations or anything else. And so we have to keep that in mind, that depending on who this student is talking to, they may need some extra assistance with that faculty member. I know there are faculty members that I don't want to talk to. Just honesty. If we're all being honest as disability support professionals in the room, right? There are faculty I don't want to talk to. but I have to, right? I have no choice because it's part of my job. And so in that, I have to be able, if I'm going to advocate for the student, if I'm going to help them learn how to teach them how to advocate for themselves, we have to recognize that personality matters, right? It comes into play when you're advocating, whether that's a student or yourself. And so keeping those things in mind. All right, you guys. Moving on to the next game. All right. So sorry, real quick, practical application. So of course, in thinking of the game, right, it's important to acknowledge the things that I just talked about, right? Our interactions with students aren't always long. Our interactions sometimes are really just, let's get the information. Sometimes they are long. It depends on, our process. And so it doesn't mean that self-advocacy can't play a role in whether our conversation is long or short with students. When we think about the questions that we just answered, right, the quick would you rather questions, they were fun and quick, but they also had practical implications, right? So how can we add maybe some of these questions to just some of our forms that we use in order to get some information from our students, to other glean some of that stuff from our students in a quick way. Maybe we have a new student or an intake form. Maybe there's a getting to know you form that a teacher has them fill out in class. Maybe there's a request for services form that adds the question to it. Is there a self-report form that you do, right? There's all types of forms that we manipulate as disability support professionals. And so, do you have the power to add a question or two on that form that says something about self-advocacy? I know I have a whole section in my intake form for new students, and it really just asks questions about them so I can learn about them, right? And one of those questions is, do you feel comfortable self-advocating for yourself? Because if we don't know if they feel comfortable self-advocating for themselves, how are we going to expect them to self-advocate when we don't even know if they feel comfortable doing it, or if they even know what the question is, what that even means? A lot of times I run into a lot of students that just don't even know what self-advocacy means. And I have to let them know right then and there in the meeting while I'm talking to them and asking them these questions, what self-advocacy is right there in that moment, right? And so keeping those things in mind when we are talking about self-advocacy, it doesn't have to always be a long workshop. It doesn't have to always be a process to teach them self-advocacy. Sometimes it's the little things that can also matter. Quick pause. Any questions, Megan, that I need to think about or comments? No? All right, well, we'll move right along then. All right, next game. Scrabble. Who has played Scrabble? And I would hope that we've got more people than 4 that have played Scrabble in this group.
I see 7 hands raised, 8, 10.
Yeah. All right. Scrabble.
10 hands raised.
Yes. For those that have played Scrabble in this group, right? This word on here that it spells out advocacy. For anyone that may not be able to see that on the slide, it is a Scrabble board game, and it spells out the word advocacy. And this would be like one of your high point words, right? Like you're gonna get all kinds of points for this one. And so when we teach students with disabilities about self-advocacy, it can feel like a game of Scrabble, right? Because, you want to get a good score. You want to teach that student about self-advocacy. You want them to go out and be the best self-advocate they can be. But we don't always have the letters we want, right? To make sure that we can teach them what they need. Or we want to make sure that we're helping our students, but we don't always have the time to do it, right? Those things are hindering to our abilities to do that, right? And we want to teach our students, and sometimes in the cases, we want to teach our students, but they don't have the matching word play on their board to connect the words together, right? Does that make sense, right? Like being able to genuinely connect those words, some students don't have it. So how do we help our students through this game of Scrabble, right? How do we help them with this through self-advocacy Scrabble? Well, let's do Scrabble Junior instead, right? Let's not recreate the wheel, right? We don't have to recreate the wheel to teach our students self-advocacy. Scrabble Junior, if you've never played it, I have a 5-year-old, so I'm learning all kinds of new games lately. So Scrabble Junior has the actual words already on the board, right? And literally you are putting the letters on there. The student, people are putting the letters on there to play the game. And then as they get a letter, they get a whole word, they get the points, right? But the foundation is there. The words are there, right? So how is this practical? Why don't we just create a brochure or an index card that you can mass produce, give it to students that feel like they need help self-advocating for themselves, right? We can include things on that like their rights. We can include things on that like sample communication. We can include things like the discussion with their instructor. Why do we automatically expect our students to just come in and know how to self-advocate, know what words they're supposed to say to their instructors, right? I think it's okay that we can give them the words, right? We are community college, disability support professionals. The people we manage and the individuals that we deal with, the students that we deal with, come from varying backgrounds. They come from varying places. They're young, old. They might have skipped a year. They might have skipped 15 years, right? We don't know how long it's been since they've been in and out of college. We don't know, if they know what it feels like to be in this type of atmosphere. And so when we think about solely self-advocacy here, because that's our topic, why not try to provide some of this information for our students already, right? Let's just give them the information that we know. Let's provide them some of the knowledge, right? So when we're thinking about a communicate your needs prompt that you can put on a brochure or an index card, how simple is it to provide something such as a hello, Mr. or Mrs. Instructor, I'm such and such, and I would like to speak with you for a few minutes about my accommodation plan. Do you have time now, or should I schedule during office hours? How hard is that to just throw that on a prompt and give it to a student and say, hey, this is something that you can say to them? And while they may not say these exact words, and some students are very literal, so they will say these exact words, right? So yeah, of course we have to be careful with this, but at the end of the day, this is the idea that we're giving them the tools that they need to be successful. And this not only matters when it comes to students with disabilities, but just from an equity perspective, right? Students come in with all kinds of things going on. I've been reading a book, and it's called Bandwidth Recovery. And I don't know if anyone's ever read it, but we're reading it in Student Affairs right now here at Davis and Davie. And it's basically how cognitive resources are short because students don't have the bandwidth to genuinely do the things that they need to do. They don't have it with them because they're carrying around everything else. So their bandwidth is so much shorter. So if we're providing them some help with just self-advocating for themselves, then we're giving them back some of that bandwidth so they don't have to, something that they don't have to think about so hard. Giving them examples, when they run into an issue, like this is an example of something that you can do. I have an accommodation plan to sit in front of the class. Whenever I come in class, it's not, someone's always sitting there. Can you help me make sure I have my seat? Right? Something as simple as that, right, can be really big for a student who, one, doesn't know how to self-advocate, or two, doesn't really like the teacher that they're about to say it to, or, three, knows their accommodation but doesn't know how it's implemented, right? Or maybe we're going to that classroom and we're talking to that teacher and say, hey, can you just put reserved right here, just right here, this right there on this desk. Maybe we're doing that. Whatever it is, why not help our students regain some of their bandwidth back from whatever, when they lost it from COVID or whatever else they may be dealing with, right? And it's okay to do that. We don't have to put up this wall of, we're college. It has to be, they have to already know and come prepared, right? Is that really necessary? So keep those types of things in mind. Any questions, concerns from there before we keep going?
Mary shared that she loved your examples.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
But no questions so far.
Awesome. Well, I hope they're helpful that you can make some examples of your own that you can provide to students as well. And this is something that I even need to do, right? While, I don't always have the time to even do this stuff, right? But I know it's something that's important that we do need to do. All right. Moving forward. All right. Next game. Categories. Now this one's going to be a little harder. I would bet there's probably maybe one other person who's ever played this game, ever. Like ever.
Let's see. 2, 3.
Okay. I am impressed.
4, 5. Okay. So some people have played categories.
Awesome. So fun fact about me, just really quickly, right? So my family used to play categories every Thanksgiving. It was like a Thanksgiving thing. We would come and like before dinner was ready or even after dinner, maybe it was the meal before the time before first meal and second meal, Thanksgiving you eat twice. So categories was a game. For those of you that don't know, this is the picture of the dice, how the dice looks for categories. And so the way you place categories is where there's a theme on the cards that are chosen. It's timed, and you roll the dice, and then you had to give all your answers from that one letter on the dice. Okay, this game was not easy. Like it was one of the, and back then I just thought it was fun. Now I realize that it was a trick that my mom was playing on me because she wanted to make sure that I knew countries that started with A, right? Like she wanted to make sure that I knew this information, right? That I had this stuff just sitting there, that I wasn't going to school for nothing, right? While it was fun for me, it really helped to build those skills, right? And so one thing I think, and don't worry, I'm not going to make you place categories today, right? But we are going to do a variation of something like that. And because I want you to think, I want you to recognize this game is really to give you the idea that our students don't always think quick on their feet, just like we don't always think quick on our feet. And so we have to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few minutes, and I want you to come up with words for self-advocacy. That's like 12 words, okay? So 12 words is a lot. So, but I'm going to give you like 6 minutes. It may not even be that long because I think you guys are smart. I think you're going to come up with this in way less than 6 minutes. But I want you to come up with self-advocacy. And I want you to think about when you do it, what I want you to do is I also want you to think about exactly how you would present it to a student. Like, would you say these words to a student or not? Would it be a way that a student can remember it? And this is not easy, right? Because, thinking about words is kind of one of those things. But I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to give you some time. I don't have any Jeopardy music, but I can sing it if you want me to. No, totally joking. But it's up to you. But I'm going to give you some time. Go forth, be great. Think about these words. As you get them, hold on to them for a second. Don't put them in the chat yet. And I'll tell you when to start putting them in the chat. All right. Go. You probably already went, but it's okay. That why is going to be hard. I'll be very interested in what you guys say for the why. Or if we all have the same word. I need some music. I should have had just some background something. Have words come through the chat, Megan?
Not yet.
Good news. All right. Look, I love it. Yes.
I try and play some ocean sounds. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. While you're practicing.
I'm with it. That works. That works. I had way more time to think about this, so kind of unfair for me, but you guys got this.
The V is also challenging. The Y is challenging, but the V, so I'm like, don't know.
Right. Yeah. See how hard the school thing can be? Look.
I might be cheating. I'm putting 2 words for some of them, but
hey, it's okay. It's okay. I'm with it. So we've hit 4 minutes. Do you guys need these other 2?
Maybe raise your hand if you need more time. Comment in the box if you need more time. Not seeing anything change. So no new raised hands, no new comments in the box.
No, does that mean they need more time? They're all thinking hard.
Oh, no.
I think I like it. This is great. The minutes go by faster than you think.
Mm-hmm. Holly, we probably, Holly wants to know if we should share in the chat or can they unmute and share?
So I would actually love to unmute and share to hear what you guys have said for actual self-advocacy. That'd be amazing.
So if you guys want to raise your hand, if your hand's already raised, can you lower it? And then if you raise your hand, we'll call on you.
Yes. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So anyone want to go first?
I'll share because I think I have some pretty simple words, and then that way it won't be like I took them.
Sounds great, Holly.
I'm not a thesaurus up here. If I even did this right.
It'll be great.
Okay. Support, effective, liable, like for oneself. I put my F and my Y together. It's funding yourself.
Ooh.
Awareness, dedicated. V is devoted, like to oneself again. I skipped the O. I'm putting the O in devoted. I'm putting 3 letters together. Confidence, admirable, and care for oneself.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. That was very brave of you, Holly. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, though. That's awesome. Anyone else brave enough to share? I'd love to hear what you guys came up with.
Kathy, just raised your hand.
Yes. Okay, Holly, I'm not stealing one of your words. You stole one of mine. Strong, effective, and I used more than one word for the L, list, because I couldn't decide. Listening, listener, learner, foundational, available, determined, vocal / victorious, optimistic, caring, alert, capable, yielding.
Yeah. Oh, yes, with the yielding. Yes, with the Y. Yes. I love it. I love it. These sound so amazing. They're amazing. Anyone else? I know we can get at least one more volunteer.
I only finished self, so I'm just going to share self. But student-centered, empowered, lifted voice, and foundational.
I like it. I like it. No more sharers?
Monica raised her hand. Monica, what do you have?
I did self too. I went as far as I got. Okay, so the S is standing up, E is empower, L is either listen or lesson, and then F is future.
Yes. Yes. You guys came up with the good words. I like it. Yes. Yes. All right, well, I guess I'm going to start to go. And if anybody comes up with advocacy, I'm going to start with self, of course, right? But if anybody comes up with advocacy while I'm talking, please feel free to raise your hand. All right, so of course, strength. What are your strengths? I should have put an S on that, but it's okay. Explain. Learning how to explain, using strength to explain those legal freedoms. So self, strength to explain legal freedoms. Anybody want to do advocacy before I keep going? No? No takers? Okay. I'll keep pushing. All right. Our advocacy. So articulate determinants of success vocally, openly, because you have the capability to be assertive, not aggressive, calmly, be you. So those were mine that I thought of. Every time I do this presentation, I try to change it up. I've done something like this in a workshop for students where I actually had them to come up with the words for themselves, because when you teach, you're teaching, it's about having them, what words you come up with, what words make sense for you. Of course, I give them the definition beforehand, but I didn't do that for you guys. But the idea is to give them words that make sense to them, for them to find words that make sense for them, and be able to help to understand exactly what they're trying to do, right? They absolutely need to know what it is they want to say, how they want to say it, and in the manner in which they should say it, right? So anyone else want to share? I'm totally willing to keep listening to the shares. No? Okay. All right. I tried. All right.
Well, Shanika shared the S in hers and start strong.
Yes, yes. So any of the letters, right? You don't have to feel like you have to share everything. If you want to share any letters in the chat, please feel free. I'm willing to hear those and listen as we go along. One thing that I meant to do when I was at a previous slide that I didn't do, but I can take it back a little bit now, is that the questions that you provide on your intake forms, things that you ask students that may make sense for self-advocacy, there may be questions that relate to self-advocacy. What are some of those questions that you guys ask? It's one thing I forgot to say earlier, but I definitely want to circle back around to it. What are some of those things that you guys like to ask to students when it comes to self-advocacy? Do you ask any questions like that on any of your forms? If you do, what are some of those questions? I'm very interested to know. Feel free to put it in the chat or say out loud. No questions yet? So does anyone ask any questions that relate to self-advocacy in any of their forms, or when they're just talking to students one-on-one, have questions that they ask as it relates to student advocacy?
I don't have an intake form that has that, but it's something to think about. So I may add that too as we're doing the online rooms. But I usually ask, are you comfortable talking to your instructor, or have you done something like that in the past? Because I'm here to help you through that, you know. So, and hopefully by the time you end your time with me, you'll be a pro.
Yes, yes, love it. Yes, confidence, right? We have to show them confidence as well. I like that. Absolutely.
Erica
Absolutely.
shared, I asked them to describe what self-advocacy means to them. Maggie shared, one question I ask is if they are aware of how their disability affects their learning. Self-awareness can lead towards self-advocacy.
Yes. I love that question. I might add that one. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Self-awareness absolutely leads to self-advocacy, because if you know what you need, right, you're going to ask someone, the right person, for what you need when you don't have what you need. So absolutely, yes. I love that. Thank you. Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. All right, we'll keep pushing along, So in all of this, I found this picture. I don't even know where it came from. Just be honest, I can't give any. I don't know, but I like it, and I use it a lot. And so self-advocacy is the ability to articulate one's needs and make informed decisions about the support necessary to meet those needs. And I love it. I love it because it just encompasses everything that they need to know, right? The knowledge of rights, the ability to speak for yourself, the knowledge of yourself, the communication skills that you need. It's all of those things. And so we have to keep those things in mind, right? When we are working with our students. And we have to make sure that we're providing options, right? There's a multitude of ways to provide self-advocacy to students with disabilities. And it should go without saying, with a room full of disability professionals, make it accessible, right? Make it accessible. We're not here to talk about all those accessible ways, right? But the idea, we want to make it accessible, whatever way that we're providing to our students. Of course, we want to make it accessible and provide options on how they learn it. So, is that subliminal messaging through posters around campus or that are in your office? Do you have positive sayings, laying around, posters that help to give them that sense? Direct questions on forms, of course, workshops or seminars, ways to help students in an actual workshop that you may put on. And of course, make sure to make it fun, because no student wants to sit through something where you're just talking all day. Like, nobody wants to do that. I don't want to do that, right? So let's make sure we make it fun for our students too. Let's utilize our clubs and organizations, try to discuss it in meetings because it matters, right? And then, of course, in our one-on-one meetings with us as providers, how do we have that conversation with them? I can say that, when I was a VR counselor, and I would frequently, have meetings with Monica and go up to the school with the student and sit there in those meetings and genuinely let's talk about what the student needs and what I can provide as the VR counselor versus what the school can provide. Those things matter, right? Collaborations with one another to make sure that we're helping our student be the best self-advocate they can be when they can't talk for themselves or feel like they can't. Maybe there's a support person there that can do that, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And so being able to help our students in any way that we can. And so any questions, concerns, comments, anything you may have? Oh, go ahead.
There's a lot of reflection about liking that graphic. So they like that picture and what you shared alongside of it. Any questions so far, guys? Any?
So you guys, I'm going to give you back like 15 minutes of your day because it's it, right? It is not, it's not hard, right? Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. I am here to help in any way that I can. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. I hope I made it fun. I hope I made you think about self-advocacy in a different way that you probably haven't thought about it before. Because, we have to think outside the box sometimes. And so I hope that this presentation helped you to think outside the box a little bit. Thank you, guys.
You got a lot of positive reflection in the chat there.
Yay.
Oh, and thank you, Demetria, for sharing with us. Everyone is very appreciative. I am going to take just a minute to plug a few things from the Disability Service Advisory Board, but Demetria will be here. So if you guys want to have questions right after this, that is the directory link. So please make sure that your school is accurately represented in the directory. The Disability Service Advisory Board hosts a Disability Academy that is a virtual learning